Welcome to another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I will be your guest host for the evening, Bill Berg. MJ Hammett is on another assignment. With me today is Bill Berg Jr. and Dan Bauer. So let's just jump right into it, guys. You each went to a game of the week last week. Dan, you had the girls' game, Arrowhead at the University School. How did that go?
Yeah, obviously start with it's a pleasure, I think, to always go to the university school rink. One of the nicest probably facilities rinks in the state. It's pretty hard not to get excited walking into that place. It was a really tight checking, I guess, kind of uneventful first period. I guess I would say each team had a power play, but I didn't feel like either goalie really got challenged early in the game. Arrow had a 8-5 advantage in shots over University School. The second period, the second period got going, and the first goal was scored by Arrowhead. And Hannah Olson, the defenseman, got a puck at the blue line, got it back down behind the net, like you see over and over. And Anna Rupenthal, as soon as that puck was on her stick behind the net, she spotted Allie Schuster poised in front and got her puck right on the tape, and she just had an easy tap in goal. And that put Arrowhead up 1-0 in the second period with about 13 minutes to go. USM had a couple of really good chances. The line of Reese Caulfield, Lucy Duback, and Rowan Williams had some really great chances. Williams fed Duback on the back door, wide open. Just couldn't get her stick down and get clean wood on the stick to get the puck to the net. And then later the two had a 2-on-1 rush, and Kennedy Bostrom made a nice pad save for Arrowhead. So the Wildcats then end up taking three consecutive penalties, something you don't necessarily see very often. And Arrowhead got a great opportunity. Rowan Smith, who really had a nice game, smooth player, has the puck a lot, made a nice play, cut inside the dots, and then just sort of like a no look, beautiful drop pass to Paxton Showers coming right down. And she got off a really good shot, but Leah Schaefer was there to make the save, keep the game at 1-0. Arrowhead, a lot of power play time in that second period, so they wound up with a 13-4 shots on goal advantage in the period. One of the more impressive players I thought for USM was sophomore Caroline Olson. She had some good opportunities throughout the game. It's kind of like one of those players. It seems like the puck always finds her. Period three, I thought USM came out and had pretty good pressure and pushed pretty hard. Maybe the first 3 or 4 minutes of the period. Um, Then there was Riley Nissen got sent to the box for checking. This was with 3:27 to play, so we're still at a 1-0 game at that point. USM coach Sarah Pearson took her timeout. Right after that, they came out for that power play, and Paxton Showers, who had that opportunity earlier in the game, got a great clear for them and probably ran a good 30 seconds off of that power play. But really, the game saver came in that power play opportunity. Um, Bostrom made two terrific saves. Olson again got into the house, top of the circles, nice wrist shot. Bostrom stopped it, but the rebound came back out to her left, and doing everything she could to just get a save. She ended up sort of sliding out to the puck, actually on her back as she's falling down, and the rebound got shot right into her, and that was kept the game again at 1-0. Then with 13 seconds to go, goalie was pulled down. Olson got another great chance. She stepped in and close and just shot it wide past the left post. Lizzie Robinson finally found the empty net for Arrowhead almost as time had expired. And that made the final Arrowhead 2-0. USM just 16 shots on goal for the game, so they really had a tough time getting inside Arrowhead's defensive zone and getting any good opportunities. And Bostrom was there, getting her fourth shutout of the year. Stars of the game, I picked the entire Warhawks defensive core. I thought they played really well. Emmy Berger, who's a senior, and Sophia McGinley particularly played really well for them. Bostrom, I gave the second save, and Allie Schuster, or second star. Allie Schuster, the third star. And yeah, it was a good hockey game. Obviously 1-0 all the way through, a lot of pressure. And Arrowhead's kind of been up and down this year, but that was a nice win for them to get on the road.
Yeah, you mentioned that U-line rink down at USM. There are a few rinks I've not been in, mostly in the southeast corner and the southwest corner of the state. I'm gonna have to make a point of getting over there to see that one of these days.
Yeah, it's a beautiful rink. It really is. Well, I mean, the whole campus is beautiful. It's a great spot.
All righty. The other game of the week on the boys' side was just north of here when Fond du Lac Springs came up to play at Tomahawk. Bill, you were at that one.
Yes, that was my first chance to see Tomahawk in person this year. I believe I saw four Hatchets games last year, going through the regular season, the Great Northern Conference tournament, the sectional final, and the state tournament. But it was my first of the year this year, and I noticed right away that defenseman Rex Riley wasn't on the ice. Talked to Coach Dewey Riley after the game, and it turns out Rex came into the season with a shoulder injury from football, and it had popped out twice in the span of a week, a couple weeks ago. And Rex and the family and their doctors came to the decision that he needed shoulder surgery and his hockey season is over. So that meant that the Hatchets, already the smallest public school in the state, fielding their own hockey team, were shorthanded, and that meant that Braden Lamer moved off of their first line and back to their first D pair with his brother Austin, and that Jet Riley, Rex's younger brother, moved up from their second line to their first line. So they're starting five: Jet Riley, Sawyer Hanna, Jonah Dickens, Braden Lamer, and Austin Lamer were a big factor in this one, because their strategy coming into this game against St. Mary's Springs was that every time Austin Westergaard and Gabe Braun were on the ice, those five Hatchets would be on the ice. And since it was in Tomahawk and they had the last line changed, they managed it for the entire game. And it worked out well for them. Springs got on the board first, about a minute and a half into the first period. Armani Fisher, second line scoring leader for the Springs, corralled the puck in the corner and hit Preston Flood out at the blue line. Flood was able to walk into the top of the circle and bury the puck into the blocker side corner for the early lead, but it only lasted about 2 minutes. Uh, Previously mentioned, Jet Riley carried the puck deep into the spring zones towards the net, which seems to be his preferred method of zone entry, because he did it all game long. Toward the net, and as he got to the net, behind the goal line, he slid a beautiful backhand pass out to Jonah Dickens in front. Dickens fired it on net, but Memphis Young of Springs turned it aside. But Sawyer Hanna was there to pick up the rebound and go around Young and tuck it inside the pipe to make it 1-1. Shots in the first period were actually 17-17, which is a lot of shots in a first period of a hockey game. About halfway through the second period, Hatchets um, got back on top. Riley corralled the puck in the neutral zone and came in 2-on-1 with defenseman Austin Lamer as his odd man rush partner. He kept it himself, and he took one of those hard wrist shots just above the leg pad and below the goalie's glove that Memphis Young got a good chunk of, but it had just enough oomph on it that it trickled over the goal line to make it 2-1 Tomahawk. Once again, the lead didn't last long. Springs came back 2 minutes later. Gabe Braun carried into the hatchet zone and hit Tate Baker in the high slot. Baker fired a nice shot on net that Trevor Seliskar turned away, but the rebound, I couldn't quite see how it happened, despite watching the play a couple times. The rebound popped straight up in the air, and Austin Westergaard was parked in front, and he baseballed it into the net. below the crossbar, no chance of high sticking or anything like that. But he baseballed it into the net to tie the game. But from then on, the second period was all hatchets. 90 seconds later on the power play, Riley took the puck deep behind the net again, went back up the boards to Braden Lamer. Braden and Austin then traded passes back and forth before Austin alone in the high slot buried a wrister to make it 3-2, which is a goal that I know that Bergler has seen Austin Lamer score more than a few times now. Leaving him alone, even just inside the blue line, sometimes with time to shoot, is a scary situation for a goaltender because that boy can shoot. They extended the lead to 2 just a couple minutes later. Jonah Dickens collected the puck in the neutral zone, entered on a 2-on-1 with Sawyer Hanna on the other side. Um, Rather than making a move or making a pass, he actually wound up and fired a slap shot into the glove side corner to make it 4-2. They would make it 5-2 halfway through the third period, where once again Riley carried the puck deep into the spring zone, slid it out front into the to the front of the net, but nobody was there to corral it. It went all the way across the zone where Hannah fired it at the net, and Jonah Dickens was there in front to deflect it in for his second goal of the game. Springs would pull back within 2. Ty Wagner, a good defenseman who's been with them for many years now, feels like he's one of those 60 or seniors. Carried the puck deep into the hatchet zone, but lost the handle on it. Stuck with it, stole it from a Tomahawk defenseman from behind, circled around the net and hit Armani Fisher. Fisher fired on net, and Jackson Sable was there to knock in the rebound and make it 5-3. And then Riley would add an empty netter with 51 seconds left to make the final 6-3. With Tomahawk coming out on top, number 1 in D2 beating number 4, I believe they were at the time, in D1.
No, I wasn't at the game, but I processed all the pictures that Brett took for you at the game, and there seemed like there was an awful lot of pictures where the only players in the frame were a Tomahawk forward and the Springs goaltender.
Tomahawk was that first line, which is not, they don't rotate their forwards and defensemen separately. At least they didn't in this game. Those 5 guys were a unit the entire game. And that combination of 5 players, Lamer on the back, and then Dickens, Riley, and Sawyer Hanna on the front, are incredibly fast, and they kept Springs' top line, Gabe Braun and Austin Westergaard, who have been giving the rest of the state fits all season. They kept them in check for the most part. I mean, they still ended up with Springs still ended up with 3 goals, but if you saw Armani Fisher on their second line was involved in 2 of those 3 goals. They really kept Springs' first line in check, and they did it with speed. I mean, last line change is important, but I don't know that I've ever seen it more important than in this game. Tomahawk's first line had all 6 of their goals and all 9 of their assists. And I asked Coach Riley about that, and he said he knew that moving Jet up from the second line to the first was going to unbalance their scoring, but their second line, despite the fact that they had 2 goals against them in this game, is still +3 over their last 4 games since they've made this change. And they're doing what they need to do. I mean, holding Springs to 3, that's the second time all season Springs has been held to 3 goals or fewer.
Put all your eggs in one basket.
Well, I mean, think about, Anago in 93. I'm pretty sure the first line did all the scoring, or the lion's share of it, and the second line was there just to make sure the other team didn't score.
All righty, moving on. Dan had himself a busy week. He also went to 2 other games besides the Tuesday game of the week.
Yeah, actually the first one was Wednesday, which is odd that they were playing a high school game on Wednesday night, but it was. And then Thursday night, I was at Ozaki Ice Arena to see the Lakeshore Lightning and the Brookfield Glacier going at each other. Prior to the game, I got a tour of Lakeshore's Lightning's locker room. which the price tag on their locker room was somewhere around $1 million. And it looks like it when you go inside of it. I mean, I've not been in some pretty nice college locker rooms, but I have never seen one that probably looks like this one does. The individual stalls for each player all have spaces for their skates to get aired out by the air's pumped through, and all their equipment gets aired out. They have a like a little safe in each locker to put their um, cell phones or whatever. So pretty impressive. The money was actually donated by Aaron Conley's grandmother. Aaron, of course, played at Lakeshore, and Aaron played with both my daughters at Eau Claire. And so I know Aaron pretty well. So I didn't know that prior to the coach, Dan Wade, asked me to come take a look at it.
She was a
So that,
goalie,
that
was
was
she
that
not?
was interesting. Pardon?
She was a goalie.
Aaron was, yeah.
In I know that Aaron Connolly was also the only Division three women's goalie to be drafted in the old NWHL. She didn't sign a contract and play in the NWHL, but she's the only Division three goalie that was ever drafted in that league.
Yeah, her Courtney Whitting was also drafted off of that team, off Eau Claire. She didn't go on to play either, but yeah. So it was interesting to see that. Pretty remarkable locker room. If you ever get the opportunity, you should probably try to get a look at that. The first period it's not very often I go to a game and see something that I've never seen before, but in the first period, there's a goal scored, and after it's scored, I had a pretty good view. I was right on the goal line, and I thought I saw the puck the whole entire time, and I thought it was clearly across the goal line. But the referees then got together after it was scored, and after a couple minutes, they waved it off. I talked to the coaches after, and they said that they waved it off because the puck that was in the net was supposedly was a puck that had been left in the net from warm-ups, and that the goalie had the net. Macy Blooming had the puck under her pad, so I've never seen anything like that before. I did have one time when I was at East, when Steve Gehring playing goalie for me made a save, that gets trapped in their equipment sometimes, and the referees and the players looked for probably a good 2 minutes, couldn't find the puck. Like it's disappeared. So they put a new puck in play, and then about a minute later, I look over and Gehring, and the puck drops out of his equipment on the ice as the game is going on with another puck at the other end, and he just calmly just takes his stick and saucers it over the boards out of play, and nothing got stopped or anything. So, yeah, it was interesting to see that. But Lakeshore is an interesting team. They're very young. They have 8 players right now that have 5 or more goals, and I don't think they have a player that has more than 9, which is pretty unusual. I looked at the other teams in the state. The other 2 teams that are close to having 8 players with 5 goals are the Storm and Bay Area, but they've scored 103 and 93 goals, where Lakeshore scored 66. So their scoring is really balanced. They have a lot of really nice young players. They're a fun team to watch. Macy Blooming was really impressive for Brookfield. She's one of those goalies that just really keeps you in a game. She had 31 saves. She currently has the second highest save percentage in the state at 93.9. Just a little bit behind Sammy Bramstead from Vroka, but Sammy's only played 7 games coming back from an injury. But Lakeshore balance was just too much, and depth was a little bit too much for them. Ended up beating the Glacier 4-1. Friday night, I back home, and Bay Area, the number 1 team in the state, is playing Chippewa Falls Menominee in Wausau. Bay Area wanted to have a JV game, and CFM didn't have one, so they stopped in Wausau to play the Storm JV, and then CFM drove to Wausau to play Bay Area. Was a fantastic game. Was 0-0. game after 2 periods, but right at the end of the second period, CFM got a 2-man advantage, couple of penalties on Bay Area, got a couple of nice opportunities, but it was just one of those where you felt like maybe if they could just get a goal there at the end of that period, then maybe they could find a way to hang on for the upset, but didn't get the goal. Bay Area came out in the third and scored twice in the first 2 minutes and ended up winning the game 4-1. But just it was exciting to watch. CFM doesn't have a lot of depth. They basically play 10 kids, but they have a couple of really impressive freshmen, and I think they're kind of dangerous. I mean, the way they played against Bay Area for Bay Area, that's their 16th straight win, or 13th straight. And then they won their 14th straight the next day. They went down and beat Eau Claire, who previously had gotten 18 shots on goal of them this year. And then they lost 3-1 to them, but they got 20 shots. They're the first team this year to get 20 shots on goal against Bay Area. And then CFM went back home on Saturday and beat Fox Cities 4-3. So CFM is kind of slowly putting themselves in the picture a little bit, and what's going to be a really tough sectional.
Yeah, I see the Lakeshore Lightning. They have their ranks. They play all their home games at the Ozaki Ice Center, which I know they got a bunch of teams in their co-op, but like Homestead and Cedarburg, both of those boys programs play out of Ozaki. But it's kind of a hike for the West Bend girls on that team, is it not?
Yeah, they do have a lot of schools involved, and in fact, the coaches tell me that their numbers are just getting kind of to the point where, I mean, they're probably he thinks they might be over 40 next year, but he said when they look at trying to split or thinking about trying to split, he's like, I don't know where you're going to find ice time for another team in the area right now. So, because they get both Concordia men and women playing out of there, and so it's a pretty busy place right now. He was telling me his practice schedule is pretty fragmented and chopped up, trying to get everybody what they want. So, but yeah, it's a nice facility. But then yeah, that locker room is just it's I can't imagine there's a better one in the state.
All right, moving along then. From our games of the week, let's go to our players of the week. Let's see, Dan, since you were talking already, excuse me, why don't we keep you going with the Best Western Premier Park Hotel Girls Player of the Week?
All right, yeah, we had some 4 nominations this week, which was nice to get a few names. Aaliyah Lathrop from the Lakeshore Lightning was one of them. She had 3 assists against Brookfield, and according to her coach, that goal that got disallowed also would have been hers if it had not been disallowed. Paxton Showers from Arrowhead was nominated. She had 3 goals and 5 assists, and Arrowhead went 2-1 last week. And Aubrey Dowd, I just was talking a little bit about the Chippewa Falls goaltender who had a fantastic game against Bay Area, was also nominated. And she had 34 saves against Bay Area and then had 47 saves the next day in their 3-2 win over the Fox City Stars. But the player of the week, Girls Best Western Park Hotel Player of the Week, goes to Brenna Rhodes from Beaver Dam. She had a couple of shorthanded goals against Arrowhead. She had a total of 5 points, 3 goals and 2 assists, and Beaver Dam's 4-2 win over Arrowhead and 3-0 win over Madison Metro Lynx. I saw Brenna and her Beaver Dam team play a couple weeks ago. She's a freshman, very impressive freshman, smooth freshman. Some very good offensive skills right now on the season. She's got 23 goals and 6 assists, which is good for 11th overall in points on the season. And she's only one of 5 players right now in the state that has 20 plus goals. So our Best Western Park Hotel Player of the Week is Brenna Rhodes of Beaver Dam.
On the boys' side, our Best Western Premier Park Hotel Boys Player of the Week is from New Richmond, and he's a forward. It is Gage Fox. On Tuesday against Somerset, he had 1 goal and 1 assist in a 4-0 win. On Thursday against Eau Claire Memorial, he had 1 goal and 2 assists in New Richmond's 9-6 win over Eau Claire Memorial. And on Saturday in New Richmond's 3-0 win or 6-2 win over Hudson, he had 3 goals and an assist. So big week for Gage Fox from New Richmond against 3 quality opponents. Two ranked or yeah, a ranked team in Division One, another powerful conference foe in Division One, and a highly ranked team in Division Two. So good week for Gage Smith or Gage Fox. We also had a couple of goalies nominated that between them in well between the 2 and 4 games there was only 1 goal allowed. They were Carter Mayer from Amory and Mason Kelm of the Avalanche hockey team over there in the lacrosse area. And that brings us to our top sixes, Bill.
Yes, it does, and it's just chaos. Nobody wants to be number two in either of the boys' divisions. Um, they seem to be allergic to it, but we have 3 unanimous number ones this week, so that's fun. Tomahawk unanimous number one in Division Two. Somerset is still second, despite the fact they lost twice this week, 7-0 to Amory and 4-0 to New Richmond. Somerset's goalie Carson Belial got hurt and has missed a couple games, and their goalie is so important that they haven't scored a goal since he got hurt. Third is New McFarland moving up 2 spots. Fourth is River Falls dropping down 1 spot. Amory slides into the 5th spot. They were not ranked last week. And the Ram Co-op drops down to 6th, falling 2 spots. Also receiving votes in Division 2 were Baldwin Woodville and Monona Grove.
It's
McFarland,
surprising to me, kind of surprising Amory didn't make even more of a move. Those are two pretty impressive wins last week.
yeah, they well, I mean, they didn't get any votes the week before, I don't believe. So jumping up to 5th is a pretty big step because the people who vote every week, they have their list and then they move schools up and down. They don't start from scratch every week. So it's very rare that a team will jump higher than 5th or 6th when they jump into the ranking. I'm surprised Somerset didn't drop after taking a 7-0 loss and a 4-0 loss. But I mean, Carson Belial has been their backstop all year. He wasn't there for those two. He should be coming back soon. And I guess people didn't hold that against him. More telling to me was that in the 2 games that he missed due to injury, despite the fact he's their goalie, they didn't score. So that's not great. McFarland on their part moved up 2 this week. They beat the South Central Navigators and Madison West, a couple Division 2 teams. And then River Falls is still there in the Big Rivers Conference, where they all just beat the hell out of each other. Moving on to the girls, the Bay Area Ice Bears are the unanimous number one yet again. The rest of the top 6 did not change from last week. Central Wisconsin, Superior, Hayward, St. Croix Valley, and Western Wisconsin. The big difference this week is that 6 additional teams got votes. And once it crosses the 10 mark, I stop listing which ones they are. So after you cross 4 additional teams, I just say that it was 6 additional teams received votes, but you can probably guess who they are.
Yeah, I think Bay Area obviously is pretty clearly established themselves as that number one team, and until somebody can hand them a loss, I don't think that will change. They won 14 straight now, and are 18-1 on the year. The Storm, kind of a weird situation for them right now. They got their game with Medford froze out on Tuesday, so they didn't play at all last week. And now, you got to back up to the last Saturday when they played. So really, they're going to play 4 games in the last 4 weeks of the season. They have a couple this week, and then they finish out the season with Superior and Bay Area, which should be interesting. They have senior night coming up tomorrow night, I believe, and 5 of their top 8 scores this year are seniors, and 3 of their top defensemen. So graduation will take its toll on them this year. Superior kind of quietly just hanging in there at third. Beat Hibbing last week. They have a really busy week. They played 4 games this week. Um, and then they finished the season with a strong run of Central Wisconsin, Hayward, and Western Wisconsin. Hayward quietly 6 straight now. They have allowed 8 goals in their last 6 games. They pounded USM last week and then beat Hudson, who is kind of, more competitive every time they get out there. Interesting thing about Hayward, I didn't really notice this till I looked at their schedule a little closer. They will have 6 home games all year total. So they're gonna play 18 games on the road, and their 6 home games, 4 of them are in Hayward, one's in Barron, and one's in Ashland. So truly road warriors there. Fusion, they're 5-4 in their last 9 games, and just sort of almost a win lose pattern. They have a big game tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to, and they'll play the team right below them in the rankings, Western Wisconsin, who now has won 6 straight. And the impressive thing about Western Wisconsin to me is that's those 6 wins came after a 0-7-1 streak. So things were, not looking very great for them early in the year, and I think credit to the coaches and the players to turn that around the way they have. They beat Eau Claire 1-0 last week, and Hopkins Park from Minnesota. And so again, a big game for them. And then for me, that just a few teams. I'm sure these teams all get votes. I would think. I could be wrong. Black River, I'm sure, is starting to move. They're 9-8-2, and in the last 2 weeks they beat the Fusion and the Warbirds. So they're starting to make a little bit noise. Fond du Lac won 7 of 9. But that loss to Black River Falls didn't help them. And Lakeshore Lightning, again, they're kind of just on the outside looking in. And did Chippewa Falls get any votes this week?
They did not. Yeah, looking at my list, it was Arrowhead, Beaver Dam, Black River Falls, Fox City Stars, Lakeshore Lightning, and Warbirds.
No Black River, or did you say Black River Falls?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I was gonna
I
say,
went alphabetically, so they were third.
okay, I would be shocked if they didn't get at least a vote or two. So, yeah, I think CFM could be that's going to be a really great sectional to watch. I think when playoffs hit. So,
I mean, what's really striking about the girls' side this year is that, like, the Madison area is nowhere to be found.
well, I do have a theory on that. I think it has more than a little bit to do with the Badger Lightning team that has been formed and plays a U19s year round or full season schedule. I think they've siphoned away some of the best players out of the Madison area. And I'm not gonna get into that discussion, but I do think that definitely has had an impact.
And if, I don't want to harp on about how, programs aren't building up their youth girls programs apart from their co-ops, but, Madison's got 2 youth hockey programs. Sun Prairie has a youth hockey program. Middleton, Verona, they have youth hockey programs. I mean, it's not killing Verona and Middleton on the boys' side every year that the Madison Capitals are right there. Yes, they lose players, but they're still going to state fairly regularly. They're still competitive. They're still putting guys into juniors. Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure how big an impact it has. I think the boys pool is deeper, and when you pull kids out, maybe doesn't affect it quite as much as the girls pool, where the depth on some teams is not what you would find typically on like a boys team, but in class, are we Division 2, right? Yeah, I keep thinking we're class, but we're division. But that's probably in Division 2 that would probably be comparable.
Yeah, we need more girls aged 8 and under playing hockey right now, so that in 6 years we have a bunch of teams. But that's another conversation for another day. Moving on to Division 1, Spash is still your unanimous number one, undefeated, 18-0, I believe they are at the moment. Brookfield is still number two. Nina moves up 2 spots to number 3. Hudson drops 1 spot to number 4. St. Mary's Springs drops 1 spot to number 5. New Richmond slides into the 6th spot. Also receiving votes were all the private schools: Madison Edgewood, Notre Dame Academy University School, and then Wausau West. So Wausau West's stay in the top 6 was short-lived. They fought their way back in with wins over Chippewa Falls, Notre Dame Academy, um, Middleton, and then they took that 7-1 loss to Spash, and it bounced them right back out. As if losing to Spash is a shame at this point.
Well, yeah, you look at Spash, and it has been a month since anybody's even given them a competitive game. They beat the Nina Hortonville Menasha Rockets in that Rocket tournament over in Nina on Friday, December 27th. They beat them 5-2. Since then, nobody's come closer than 5 goals. That
Yeah.
was Brookfield. They just beat Brookfield 5-0. Otherwise, they're like double digits, and they're just making a mockery of the rest of the state.
In their last 8 games, Spash has given up 5 goals. 8-2 over Tomahawk, 8-0 over Chippewa Falls, 8-1 over Wisconsin Rapids, 14-0 over Marshfield, 12-0 over East Merrill United, 10-1 against University School, which is still just shocking. I was there and I'm still shocked by the score. 7-1 over Wausau West and 5-0 over Brookfield. It's a run of dominance. Just utter dominance. Like Notre Dame ran the table 2 years ago, and I mean they were beating people pretty good, but I don't remember them beating people by quite that much.
No, early on, and looking at their schedule, I mean, they beat Wausau West the first time 4-3. They beat Eau Claire Memorial 6-5. So they had some tough games early on, but said nothing in the last month. They have Nina Hortonville Menasha again tomorrow.
Yeah, they have Nina Hortonville Menasha tomorrow, and then conference a game against DC Everest on Thursday. As much as I would like my Evergreens to challenge Spash in that one, I don't see it happening.
They're kind of leaving a wake of destruction right now.
Right now they are, and Brookfield loses 5-0 and still holds on to the number 2 spot, and they did it fairly comfortably. Nina, for their part, not this last week, but the week before, they took a 2-0 loss to Ashwaubenon. That was surprising. I believe they outshot them by like a billion shots, but they just couldn't crack the goalie that day for whatever reason. Hudson lost to New Richmond 6-2, so they moved down. Springs lost to Tomahawk 6-3, so they moved down. New Richmond moves into the rankings. Um, it was kind of a everybody who was previously ranked other than Spash took a loss in the last 10 days. Um, that made ranking Division 1 kind of tough this week.
All righty, we got that's the way that's it for last week. We got this coming week. We've got a couple of the games of the week coming up tomorrow. Dan, where are you going?
I am going to River Falls to see Western Wisconsin and the Fusion. This will be their second meeting of the year. Fusion beat them 3-2 real early in the year, like maybe within the first month for sure. So Western's really been on a good roll right now, and the Fusion's kind of been winning the game, losing the game back and forth. So it should be interesting.
Yes, and we're sending friend of Wisconsin Prep Hockey, Cade Marshall, to Hobbs and Eau Claire to see the number 4 Division II school, River Falls, playing Division I conference foe in Eau Claire Memorial. That should be a good game. Eau Claire Memorial is not ranked right now, but they have been, and they're always a solid program. So a good number 4 Division II against a solid Division I conference foe. So that should be a good game tomorrow for our boys' game of the week. And now we get down to some final thoughts, and we have some thoughts about our favorite Holiday Classic tournament. The Wisconsin Prep Hockey Holiday Classic has got a few openings for teams next year.
Yeah, the tournament is scheduled to be held in Hayward next year. They rotate the site of that tournament around, and it's Hayward's turn apparently. And right now they're probably looking for 2 teams, and they could possibly be looking for more. But the committed teams to the tournament right now are Hayward, CFM, Black River Falls, and Arrowhead. And then Fox Cities and Bay Area are possibly returning to that. So there's a couple of potentially a couple of spots open for that. It's a really good tournament, really strong field. I was over there for a day this year and got to see some really good hockey games while I was there. It was at Cornerstone. Um, Hayward's it's a fun town. You can find a few things to do up there for a couple of days. So hopefully some teams will that are looking for something to get into a tournament over the holidays. Contact Emily Clark up in Hayward. She's the one that you want to talk to if you are interested in getting into that tournament.
Yeah, Brett and I had covered that one the previous couple of years in Fond du Lac and Eau Claire. Fun tournament. Always a good time. Good competition. Anything else, gentlemen?
I'm a little disappointed that I won't be doing a game this week, but everybody in our area seems to be on the road on the one day I am available this week. It's hard because I'm not retired like the rest of you bums. I got a day job and I got an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. There's things to do.
And the 8-year-old plays hockey.
Yes, she does. And now she coaches it too.
Yeah.
In that she's my demonstrator when we help out with the learn to skate kids.
And I'm still out of commission. So
My weekdays are pretty good. Weekends are a challenge. I've got trying to figure out if I should go watch Augsburg play or Lawrence play or go watch my grandson play. So every weekend I usually have 3 different places I can pick to go. So try to get to my games during the week if at all possible.
all righty. I think it's a wrap for MJ. He might be back next week. It's kind of a week-to-week thing with him. For Dan, for Bill, this is Bill Berg. One. Uh, Signing off for this week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.